Oh, you Araf, Gwasanathau and Yakida. We're in Wales and we're here to ride these KTM's all-new 890 Adventure and Adventure R. Damn! Oh, damn! That's a nice bridge. This morning we've got a big sort of 150-mile loop on this, the 890 Adventure, and this afternoon we'll be riding the 890 Adventure R at Sweetlam Motorsport Complex, which I've heard a lot about and I'm really looking forward to. Fagan's only just been on the launch for the Super Adventure 1290. He was on that the other week, and his main sort of takeaway from that was just how refined they've made that bike. So perhaps that's what I can look forward to on this. Not done a whole lot of miles on the bike just yet, but it's you know, you almost think it's as much power as you need on a bike like this, just for blasting around the countryside. You know, 200 brake horsepower. You probably don't even need 150. It's still a little bit jerky at the very bottom end, you know, when you first open the throttle in them really slow corners, and we are still in street mode, so you'd expect that would be the sort of smoothest throttle map. It's not horrendous, but it's just not quite as smooth as you might like. But that doesn't matter, because as soon as you open the throttle, it puts a big smile on your face. Well, that was the traction control kicking in just there, the anti-wheelie. It doesn't want you to show off. But the good thing about KTM's is you can turn that stuff off on the fly. So let's have a go at doing it. Let's see how many buttons we have to press. MTC and MSR. Let's turn that off. I like the riding position. I like the way it feels a bit more almost off-roady. I mean, I always feel like the KTM's are the adventure bikes and the touring bikes that lean the most towards actual adventure riding, you know, actual off-road riding. If I was gonna go on an adventure that was sort of as much off-road as on-road, I think the KTM would be the bike that I chose, whether that was the big one or the Super Adventure or one of these. Bombs darting around everywhere. Hey, hope you stay there. The thing with KTM's is they're just so much fun. They're just a laugh. They don't have the airs and the graces of other models, you know. I'm not finding a massive amount of refinement in this bike, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. I know Al did on the big bike, but it's still a little bit chuggy. It's still a bit. It's not agricultural. It's not. You know, it's not a big lumpy thing the way old adventure bikes used to be. I don't want it to be smooth. I don't want it to feel like a lovely, delicate road bike. I want it to be a bit raw and exciting, and it is. Do you know what? I could do this all day, every day, riding bikes like this on roads like this in the sun. Go on, lad. KTM told us they've treated some of the gears to a special coating, and they've also worked on the quick shifter, and it works lovely, to be fair. I will say that quick shifter's an optional extra, which is a shame. Quimswith. Quim. it might be faster, have a bigger engine than the 790, but it's still got that playfulness. It's still got that, you know, small bike feel to it. It's not a small bike, you know, it's getting on for 1000cc. It is not a small bike, but it just feels, you know, you can have a bit of fun with it. Really is a playful little thing. It just puts a massive smile on your face. This isn't like the UK, is it? This is like otherworldly. I mean, look at that. It's like a lost city. It does have a smooth chassis. Do you know, it's nice, falls into corners nicely. It's not nimble and agile like an out-and-out road bike. It is a little bit lethargic, but it's smooth with it. You know, you feel like you can just lay it into a corner and it'll just kind of, as long as you don't rush it, it'll do anything you want it to do. Al complained of a bit of a sore body on the 1290 Adventure, and whilst this is a comfortable bike, I think the combination of a reasonably hard seat and you know, an upright riding position, so all of the weight is going through your body rather than your wrists. You know, after a while it does start to go a little bit numb. I mean, I'm all right at the minute, but it's, you know when you can just feel it starting to go. I like the dash. I like the fact that you can adjust stuff on the fly. The menus are all, you know, reasonably intuitive. They're easy to sort of work your way through. The switch gears are good. There's a lot of buttons to press, not gonna lie, you know, to get to certain bits and adjust certain things, but I guess you know, if you owned the bike and you got used to it, it would become a bit more second nature. And obviously, if you was the type of person to adjust all these settings, you know, obviously a lot of people just stick it in one setting, don't they, and they're happy with that. There's been some lovely smooth roads and some bumpy roads, and up to now the suspension's coping absolutely deliciously. It's soft enough to give you a comfortable ride, but firm enough that, you know, when you start throwing it into corners, it doesn't get too loose and bouncy. I think if you wanted to ride the bike in a really sporty way, then you might want slightly stiffer suspension, but for sweeping turns like this, it's absolutely fine. It's lovely. You don't get too much dive at the front end when you grab the brakes. You don't get too much squat when you open the throttle. Just everything works nicely. All too often on adventure bikes and touring bikes of old, if you start pushing them and throwing them into corners, you end up getting loads and loads of weight transfer, too much movement. You know, there's too much travel in the suspension, it's too soft, and the thing just ties itself in knots. But yeah, this holds its own very, very, very well. I'm going to come to Wales more often because these roads are something special. It is a bit of a shame that they're so busy, because you could have a right laugh. But it's not upsetting me too much. So what's new about these bikes? Well, the main thing is the engine. You've got an extra 90cc. They've done that by increasing the stroke and increasing the bore. Not by very much, but enough. That means you've got another 10 brake horsepower. That puts both these models up to 105 horsepower. You've got a bit of extra torque. There's bigger valves, there's more compression, there's a new balancer shaft. And something else they've been banging on about a little bit is the extra rotational mass in the engine. That's up by 20%. The idea behind that is to give the throttle a bit better feel, so when you open the throttle it's a bit less. All the electronics have been tweaked a real little bit. The brakes have been tweaked, the suspension's been tweaked. So what's the difference between the Adventure and the Adventure R? Well, there's a few big differences. First of all, this one doesn't have a big screen, so you can kind of see the front wheel when you're going over obstacles and logs and rocks and stuff, with it being the more off-road bike. You've got WP Explore suspension on this bike with extra travel, and you've got a single seat, like a motocross style seat on this bike. But the motor, the electronics, the chassis, the brakes and the tank are identical on both bikes. Well, we've had a bit of lunch. bit of nose bag, and it's time to go for a ride on this. This is the 890 Adventure R. Bit more off-road bias to it. Borrowed some gloves off Lel from Brake Magazine, and before you say it, it does like I'm about to give someone a cavity search. If you'd like to pop your clothes on the stool, sir, touch your toes. Straight away this feels a bit more motocrossy than the oh you fucker. Oh, I've got a stone off the back of his bike. Yeah, straight away this feels a bit more off-roady, a bit more motocrossy. You feel like, you know, you want to be stood up and... Where's he going? Way up there. I've got a feeling this is going to be quite difficult, this ride. I'm going to have to concentrate, because these boys are probably all better off-road than I am, which doesn't take a lot of doing, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. Oh fucking hell, here we go. Slow and steady wins the race. Way up, bloody hell. They've increased the rotational mass by 20% in these engines to give it a bit more, give you a bit better feel. So the engine isn't quite as flighty, isn't quite as light feeling, but it just helps. Hey up, fucking hell. Just helps with the feel of things, particularly when you're off-road riding like this. Quick shifter works just as well off-road as it did on the road. That extra suspension travel is a godsend on these rough gravel roads. It's a bit sloppy. The extra travel and the suspension give you loads of confidence, because when you grab the brakes, it just digs in and... Fucking hell, that was a bit fast. It's just it's a happy medium between a big, heavy adventure bike and a light, nimble enduro bike. If you're really going off-road, then sometimes the 1290 might be a bit much. Whereas these sort of middleweight adventure bikes are just perfect for it. I really like that suspension. The WP Explore forks and shock. You just feel like you can glide over anything. The bike bounces around a little bit underneath you, but it doesn't get too worked up or out of shape. Fuck. I thought I was going to go over the edge there. That engine's got more than enough power to light the back wheel up, but the power doesn't come in with such a smack that it gets things lit up out, you know, uncontrollably. You feel like you'd have to be really taking liberties to get the thing properly lit up and properly out of control. Saying that, I do have a bit of a reputation. Now then, this little button here, we can use it to alter the slip mode. I don't know if you can see that. So but them buttons there change this. If we go down, we can set that to 1. That's the least amount of traction control intrusion, or the least amount of slip control. You can wind it up to 9, I think it goes. Yeah, up to 9, and that gives you the most traction control. So we'll give it a try in 9 and see what it's like. You can definitely feel the intrusion with it on 9. You open the throttle and it's almost as though you've got a bit of a lag. It will spin, but kind of drifts out real gently rather than snapping out. Right, I'm going to stick that on 1 now, just to see if we can feel any difference. Oh yeah, straight away that just the throttle feels a lot more instantaneous, but it also wants to light the back wheel up really quickly and really easily. Way up there. You can probably hear it. I mean, it's fast. it's a nice feeling just to be able to open the throttle and get that power down straight away, and it's exciting, but it's not the quickest way of doing it. Right, for this next one we'll put it on 4 or 5. Stick it on 5, see what happens. Oh, that's nice, that. It just steps out nicely, just enough to get the thing drifting, but not so much that it's uncontrollable. That's nice, that I like it. It's a tiny bit fluffy at the very bottom end, which is not unlike KTM's. You know, that first bit of blip, blip, blip. When you're rolling, it's not a problem, but right up, fuck me. It's a really confidence-inspiring package, you know. I'm probably going faster than what I should go on such loose ground like this, but it's just easy. It's like cheating. You shouldn't be able to do it. It's too easy to ride this bike fast on gravel, to the point where I'm probably riding it a little bit faster than I ought to, but it just copes with it. It's fine, it's not a problem. Oh, you fucker. Oh, I nearly lost the front there. I was just saying how easy it is how easy it makes technical stuff, and then I nearly ended up on my bottom. It's so easy to forget how big this bike is. On certain types of terrain, it's even easier to ride than like a full-on enduro bike, just because it's just so big and smooth. Just glides over rocks and bumps, and you can let it bounce around underneath you, and as long as you kind of point it in the right direction, it just goes there. Let's go, let's go. The more I do on this, the more I think, you know what, you could do an actual enduro on this. You know, you could do some proper off-road competitions. It doesn't feel like a big heavy road bike. It feels like a proper off-road bike. Oh, the sun's come out again. Wow, look at this. Tell you what, Al told me that this is a great place to ride bikes, and he wasn't wrong. If you've never been here before, you got to come. If you fancy a day riding adventure bikes, get yourself to Sweet Lamb. That's the boggy track. Oh, you fucking... Right, I'll tell you what. There is shit all over my face, all over my arms. And the hairs on a dicky dido went down to her knees. One black one, one white one, and one with a bit of shite on. I don't think I'd get bored of this bike, on the road or off it. It just gives you so much confidence to open the throttle and drift out these corners and way up there, get some big air. Probably not that much air, probably about 2 inches, but never let the truth get in the way of a good story. Way up. Thank you. Right, we're going proper off-roading now, kids. This is where it gets gnarly. An ugly little sheep, that is. Oh, that one must have just been born. It still had the bloody placenta hanging out. They don't like to waste the afterbirth, so they eat it, the dirty bastards. Oh, that's about to have one, look. It had a sack hanging out its vagina. I'm saying this, I don't know a lot about sheep. What a day I'm having. Oh shit, oh shit. Oh, fucking hell. Way up there. Getting a bit excited, I think. It does start running away with itself a little bit when you start pushing the envelope and trying to be a bit clever, because it is a heavy bike, even though it doesn't feel heavy, and you feel like you can do more on it than you maybe ought to be able to. It soon reminds you that it's not a small bike. It's taking us through the woods. If you come out to the woods today, ow, you fucker! Every bear that ever there was, today's the day that Teddy must have the picnic.
The 890 Duke that KTM released last year was an absolute banger. And these two models, the Adventure and the Adventure R, are no exception, thanks chiefly to the extra cc and power in that lovely little engine. On tight, twisty, narrow, bumpy country roads, the 890 Adventure is capable of doing everything you need a motorcycle to do. In fact, it felt like the perfect bike. That was until the roads opened up and got a bit faster. If you're a speed freak, you might find that 890 runs out of steam before it satisfies you on the open roads, but that's not really what it's all about. It's a comfortable, capable KTM, and it does exactly what it says on the tin. If getting your adventure bike dirty is your modus operandi, the Adventure R might just be the bike for you. It was smooth and easy to ride on grass and gravel roads, and cut better than I expected it to when things got a bit more technical, and certainly better than a bigger, heavier adventure bike would. If you want an 890 Adventure, it'll cost you £10,999, and if you want an Adventure R, it'll cost you £11,999. There are other middleweight adventure options out there, but you'd have to say that most of them are leaning more towards the touring market rather than proper adventurers. If I was going on an adventure, and I mean a proper adventure, I think I'd want to do it on a KTM.